Societal inequalities and class discrimination was not only an economical problem but also political, cultural, and a moral problem throughout the history. These inequalities usually represented via different metaphors in the literature and cinema. H. G. Wells's 1895 science fiction novel The Time Machine and Bong Joon-ho's 2019 Parasite movie are the two powerful examples for this concept. When we think about Victorian literature, we usually imagine foggy streets, factories, strict class divisions, and a society obsessed with progress but deeply afraid of its consequences. Now, Parasite doesn't take place in Victorian England, it's set in modern South Korea, and yet, when you look closely, it feels strangely familiar. That's because many of the social fears that shaped Victorian novels, especially fears about the class division, exploitation, and social collapse, are still with us today. Although one is a novel written in Victorian England and the other is a film in modern South Korea, both works focus on the same thing. As class discrimination deepens, what will the humanity turn into? In this video essay, I will examine the time machine and Parasite in the context of social injustice and class discrimination, discussing how the concepts of time, space, and class intersect in these two works. H. G. Wells's novel, The Time Machine, may appear to be a science fiction story on the surface, but it is actually a harsh critique of the Victorian class system. The novel's unnamed narrator, the time traveler, observes during his journey into the future that humanity has evolved into two distinct species, the Eloi and the Morlocks. The Eloi are aesthetically refined but mentally passive and weak beings living on the surface. The Morlocks, on the other hand, live underground, physically strong, representing the working class existing in darkness. This distinction is not accidental. Wells takes the class differences in post-industrial revolution England and turns them into a biological destiny. Here, class discrimination is no longer merely an economic distinction, it is an evolutionary outcome. The comfort of the upper class has weakened them, the exploitation of the lower class has turned them into monsters. Wells' most striking point is this: social injustice is unsustainable. In the long run, it is destructive for both the oppressor and the oppressed. The Morlocks hunting the Eloi is class exploitation turned on its head. The Morlocks, once the working class, now feed on the bodies of the upper class. This is a dark allegory of the capitalist system preparing its own demise. The film Parasite places class division not in the future, but in contemporary society. Bong Joon-ho's narrative is built on the sharp economic and spatial differences between the Kim family and the Park family. The Kim family lives in a semi-basement apartment, where the windows open directly onto the street. From these windows, they witness people passing by, garbage piling up, and at times even drunk men urinating outside. Their living space is constantly invaded by the city, emphasizing how unstable and degrading their conditions are. In contrast, the Park family lives in a modern, spacious, and light-filled villa. This stark spatial difference visually represents the rigid class hierarchy. One of the most striking elements in the film is how class difference is conveyed through the metaphor of smell. The Park family cannot clearly identify the Kim family's smell, but instinctively finds it unpleasant. This reaction suggests that the lower class is excluded not only economically but also physically and existentially. Parasite reveals how invincible yet deeply rooted class divisions are in modern society. As the Kim family tries to integrate into the system, the film shows that the system consistently pushes them back down. The social injustice portrayed is not limited to inequality of opportunity. It reflects the systematic erosion of dignity and humanity. So, why do these Victorian themes still resonate today? The answer is simple. The problems they address were never solved. Class inequality didn't disappear after the Victorian era, it evolved. Industrial capitalism became global capitalism. Factories became offices and service jobs. But exploitation still exists. Another reason these themes persist is that class division is easy to visualize through storytelling. Vertical space above and below immediately communicates power. That's why Wells uses underground tunnels and Bong Joon-ho uses basements and stairs. Finally, these stories endure because they challenge the myth of meritocracy. Both The Time Machine and Parasite suggest that hard work alone does not guarantee social mobility. The system itself is designed to maintain inequality. That idea was deeply unsettling in the Victorian era, and it still is today. In conclusion, The Time Machine is filled with classic Victorian themes: class hierarchy, fears of degeneration, and anxiety about progress. Parasite takes those same fears and repackages them for a modern, global audience, proving that these anxieties are not confined to one century or one culture. The reason these themes persist is because the structures that produce inequality persist. Wells warned his readers about the future. Bong Joon-ho shows us that future has already arrived. And maybe the most Victorian idea of all is this: if society refuses to change, history doesn't move forward, it repeats itself.